Effortless Parenting and my interview today. My name is Annette, and my guest today is somebody who I only met last week, and I was so impressed that I wanted to share this with you today. And what I was thinking while I met our guest in the interview today was that what you have to share with us is so profound for parents to hear who are still in the middle of this journey of parenting and who sometimes can't see the wood for the trees. And that's what really struck me in the presentation last week. And we as parents, so maybe you're a parent who's seeing this, who's just coming home from the hospital with a baby, and you meet someone who's been through it all and out the other end, and they might say something like, just enjoy them while they're young. That goes so fast, And this could be, to a parent who's at the start of this journey, can be so invalidating, because like if you're a mother, you've just given birth, you were pregnant for 9 months, you're getting over this, grieving your past life, and now you have to care for a human being. And that can sometimes feel a bit invalidating. And what impressed me about Georgiana, who's joining me now, is that you have such a gentle approach, to not invalidate parents, but to share with us what is really important. And that's my intention for today's video. So with this, I'm bringing on Georgiana Nderitu. Please correct me how to pronounce your name.
That's correct.
And I would like you to introduce yourself, to tell us what you do and where you're from and what age your child is. I don't know if you have permission because it is an adult you have now. So I'm going to give it over to you. And thank you so much. We only met last week, and this is so spontaneous. I'm glad it worked out.
Thank you. Thank you, Annette. I'm happy to be here. I enjoy sharing, and especially if it's something I feel that somebody would benefit from, especially parents. They're my greatest population of people to work with. I live in North Carolina. I have a daughter, and she's 25 this Sunday. So I've been through with her since she was an infant, working on just getting her ready for the world. That's my biggest thing. I'm originally from Kenya and moved here when I was going to college and continued living on here. And then went to college, but I really wanted to be working with children and parents. And so when my daughter was born, I changed and went into working with children full time. I did Montessori training, and that led me to positive discipline.
That would have been one of the first questions, how you found it. So why don't you share with us what, I'm sure you, in the line you work, are you a teacher in a school? Did I understand?
I am.
So what got you hooked into PD, because positive discipline? Because I'm sure you've been introduced to a lot of different things of methods. I'd love to hear that from you.
So when my daughter was born, when she was about 6 months, I took a parenting class. I really wanted to be an effective parent. And I took a parenting class based on the name of the parenting program. And at that time, it was called Systematic Training for Effective Parenting. And I thought that was just online. And I've since found out, before I got into positive discipline, that it's also Adlerian. So what happened when I took positive discipline at that time, I understood discipline has the same ideology as disciple, being a role model and modeling the behavior that you want, and being proactive as opposed to being reactive. So when I got that into my head, I was able to do that and practice systematic training for effective parenting, which is also called STEPS. Then when I started my Montessori training, I asked the director of the program that I was in, her name is Jill Stansberry, if I could do parenting classes. And she said, "Oh, you want to do parenting classes? what program are you going to use? I said, I'm not sure yet. And she said, well, next Saturday, I need you to come with me and I'm going to give you a training. And I walked into positive discipline with Jill Stansbury.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's how positive discipline started. So I started doing the positive discipline, and then I started doing positive disciplining at the school that I was teaching at. And since I was already in the habit of doing some of those things in my own life, to transform it into being in my classroom was very easy. So that's how I got into positive discipline. Then I practiced it and taught for a while.
Mhm.
And maybe 15 years later, I was not well and I wanted to come back into the workforce. And I was still teaching. I went back to teaching, but I decided I would take up my positive discipline again. And that's how I ended up getting into the group and recertifying and starting again on my journey to mentor and be a positive discipline coach or facilitator.
Oh, wow. So,
Yeah,
so can I just ask, because I'm now finding this so interesting, to bring
sure.
positive discipline into the classrooms, and you say
Mm-hmm.
that you found that quite easy being a parent. Um,
Yeah.
did so could you share a bit more about this? Like, did you was there already, I don't know when you found this, did you find it easy to make up your own transition into the classroom, or did you have guidance, or
So
I'm
what I,
fascinated with.
yeah, sorry. I did. I went back to school to be a Montessori teacher. So I did my Montessori training. And in that training, they also do talk about respecting the child.
Mhm.
So with that and positive discipline, it was very easy to mash the two together because it's always been about respecting a child for me and understanding that a child is a gift. And my job is to prepare them for the world and receive that gift as a gift you have to treasure. So
Mhm.
it's always been about me teaching the respect and not expecting the respect unless I've given it to the child. So with that, in the classroom, it was very easy for me to understand how to talk to my children when they were struggling
Mhm.
because I'd already practiced it with my own child. So to have 25 little people that I have to take care of,
Yeah.
to respect them so that they can learn to respect themselves, respect others, and respect the environment was not a challenging task. But it is a task when it hasn't been the practice because traditionally it's always been children are supposed to respect adults. But
Mhm.
if a child hasn't been taught what respect is,
Mhm.
it's really hard for them to understand what are you looking for as the adult. Does that make sense to
Makes
you?
total sense. Makes
You
total
know,
sense.
when you think about the children I'm teaching, they're 36 months old. That's 3 years old. 36 months old, they haven't had the experience of respect or love. They're just starting to understand that to come into their own. So you have to help them get there by showing them what you want.
That is really powerful, because we just assume that children are born to know respect, right? And
No.
that kind of leads me into my next question, because
Mm-hmm.
so my daughter turned 13 this month, and that's what you
Yeah.
really touched on last week. And I want to share this before I ask my question. Um, so with so we've put the foundation work in, maybe if we found this approach in the early years, or it's never too late, really. And what
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding now is that am I respectful with my 13-year-old who's becoming a teenager? That's just
Mm-hmm.
now challenged on a whole other level and mirrored back to me, right? So
Yeah.
what what I learned from you last week, was that, and I forgot to say, but I put it in the thumbnail of this video. What we're talking about today is the topic of empty nest. My
Mm-hmm.
friends in Ireland have shared with me that this is quite an American expression, but it's finding
Yes.
its way over into other countries. So it's the time, obviously, when your child is leaving. And what I learned from you, which is leading into my question, is that this detachment process before they move out, at whatever age that might be, 18 or
Mm.
28 or older, um, that there has to be a detachment process, you know. So I'm now experiencing this pushback and being kept at arm's length or even further away, you know. And what it really hit me, how this is a natural way, and evolution has really found a way to deal with this. So I have now from 13 to hopefully 18 to get used to this as a parent, you know. And and that really hit me. And since it's only been a week and a day that I've known you, but I've really put this into action. This is how profound your presentation was, that that my mantra has been, amongst other things, but to love my teenager through this, you know, and also the challenges that will come in the next 2 years. So the question really is, what advice do you have for parents who are in the thick of it now, you know, maybe very young children, maybe like me, embarking on the teenage journey? And how can you encourage them? What message is there, you know, that it is a bit important to take some time out and reflect, so that they can see what are the path. I used to say the battles to pick, but now it's more like, when do we stay and when do we walk away as parents, you know?
That's a really good question. I'm gonna go back a little bit, right? So what I typically understood from myself, and this is how I got to where I am, is we can make a chart, and a parent should probably consider this. It's a two-list chart. On one side, you're going to put the challenges that you feel that you have today with your child, or that you are anticipating, right? So you would say speaking back, being secretive, all those things that you find would be a challenge. And then on the other side, on the right side, you're going to put all the things that you would expect that would make it all look good when your child walks out of that door at 18, 20, 26, whatever age your child leaves the house. What would look like for you? What would make you feel really that I have done my job? When you put that list of what good looks like, in the middle, there'll be no space. So you need to open up a space. And in this space, you have to dump in all the skills and all the things that you need to have taught your child so that they can leave looking good at 18. So if that work is done in the middle, I think, Annette, then you will have done your job, right? If it's talking about, I want my child to be able to be financially responsible, do your job in that middle part so that they can know what financially responsible looks like. If you want your child to go out there and be a responsible, a good human being, do your job now so that when they walk out, you have no doubt that you have implemented or instilled those values in your child, and your child is able to practice them. That's one way to look at it, right? So you're looking at what you need to do and how you need to train them to get ready, because that is really a parental responsibility for this gift that we've been given. And I hope that doesn't make it seem like it's too late. So when my daughter was young, we did the two list, and we did this thing where you have to figure out all these things and how you have to teach her all these things. So that was one way we got it. But then on this list of all these beautiful things that you want your child to be able to do, break it down to three things. And for us, it was happy, respectful, and responsible. If your child is happy, they'll face the world with happiness. They won't have to spend most of their time worrying about, is this person telling me the truth? Is this person being a good person? They'll be able to form relationships, not just with you, but with the world at large, right? With their teachers, with their peers, and even strangers, right? If they're responsible, we feel that they would be responsible for their own well-being, their eating, their money, that money thing, their time management when they go to college, their classes when they go to college, all that you can embody in being responsible for, right? If they're respectful to themselves, they're respectful to others, and they're respectful to the environment. So if you can implement all those things and try and instill those things in your child when they're at the early age, that's perfect. That would be like a most ideal thing. But also remember that we also come with some baggage from before, so that can make our parenting look kind of different from the way we want to parent. But take the risk. Take the risk of deciding this is who I want, this human being that I'm responsible for teaching
Mhm.
to leave the world as, right? So
Yes.
that answers the first question.
Yeah.
The second question is this preteen age group,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
we do know that the body is growing in a different kind of wave, and also they're starting to speak up. Their ego is at a different space.
Mhm.
So, what is it that you are doing to help them transition through this stage in life? So,
Mhm.
when my daughter was going through her preteen ages, I read up a lot about adolescents and what their needs are, where their mind is, what their insecurities are.
Mhm.
And I addressed that prior to her getting into it. So
Mhm.
you would say something and she would bark back right at you. That's what 13-year-olds do, right? But you
That's
know they're going to
normal,
do that.
right? Isn't it?
It's very normal. But let's have the conversation before the barking comes in and understand how we're going to react to it. So I had the conversation with my daughter, and I said, Sarah, when you're going through this, it's not your fault. Sometimes you'll say things that are unkind and you just shout out things because your brain is also going through development.
Yeah.
Your hormones are also going through development, right?
Yeah.
So when this happens, I might not say anything. It's not because I'm not listening, because I'm letting you process it.
Mhm.
I'm not going to say anything. And when it goes through badly, I'm going to have a signal and I'm just going to say rainbow. And that means I'm hearing you,
Mhm.
but I'm not going to respond to you right now. And it worked perfectly for us.
Yes.
And she would just be like really annoyed about something. I'd be
Mhm.
silent about it. And I say, I hear you. I hear you. And then she'd come back and say, Oh, mom, I'm sorry I said that. That's not what I really meant. I said, Yes, I understand. What would you like to do about it? Because you also have to give them an opportunity to process what they're
Mhm.
thinking and come up with their own solutions. So
Yeah.
when she was very young, even before she got to this, she
Mhm.
would do things and I would say, so what would you like how would you like us to deal with this? And I say, how do you get friends when they get into trouble? What do their parents do?
Yeah.
So now you're in trouble. What do you want to do about it? And
Uh-huh.
so she would say things like, please don't give me a timeout. I say, I wouldn't give you a timeout, Sarah. That
Mhm.
means you'd be away and I'd be lonely without you. So timeout never worked in our house because I always feel like it's sometime to send somebody away to feel miserable about themselves and not really solving the situation. So we would just say, we need to sit for 5. And we'll sit in the same room
Yeah.
and then we'll say, this is what I expected and
Uh-huh.
this is what happened. What do you think you can do next time? Because
Yeah.
you're trying to teach these habits and you don't have a big window to teach these things.
Mm.
So you want to help them understand, process, problem solving. You want them getting involved in their own problem solving.
Yes.
I don't think it's too late for parents who are in the thick right now
Mhm.
because they just have to change their mindset, right? Change your mindset so that realize when you're talking to this person, it's another human being,
Uh-huh.
right? They've said something to you that's really upsetting. Would you talk to your boss that way? I
Mm.
don't think so. Would
Mm.
you talk to somebody you revere that way?
Mhm.
Think about your child as the most revered person in your life
That is
and
good.
take that to
Mm.
understand how you're going to treat them. How you're going to react.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
you're going to react. So the next time she comes to you and she says something, you're going to say, I'm going to think about that. Don't be too quick to make judgment. And
Mm.
then also realize she's processing the way you're processing things
Mhm.
and getting a message that might not be so friendly towards her. She
Yeah.
does not need us as her parents feeling like you don't care.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
have a talk with her one day, and it has to be in a neutral place. I always encourage that
Mhm.
away from a safe, from the safe space of home, and
Okay.
say,
That's
listen,
great advice.
you're,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to take you for tea, and then go for tea, and say, listen, I want to share something with you. Um,
Mm.
Sometimes right now you're going to go through stages where you're feeling I'm not doing the right thing by you. Just explain it to me, and I will listen to you and I will hear you, and I will share what I can share about whatever you're going through, and then decide. Um, every time you want to talk to me, feel free to come and talk to me. I'm not going to judge you. Because they need to hear those words. I'm not going to judge you.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what I know. And if I don't know, I'll look into it. So
Yeah.
making sure you're having that conversation, that you're not only having a conversation when you're at war.
Yeah.
It doesn't help. It
That,
really doesn't help. Try and do it like even when you're just casually, and don't always make your conversation about reprimanding, reprimanding, reprimanding. That's
uh,
not what life's about. No, no, it's not.
that is
I
so.
hope that helps.
Oh, there is so much I'd like to pick up on, and I'm you for whatever reason it's meant to be this way. You're in my Zoom view above, and then I'm underneath, and there's like a line in between, and I
Uh-huh.
absolutely love that analogy of the two lists, which we're
Yes.
familiar with in positive parenting, but what you're bringing in, that space in between, and that's, I think, is great advice for the parents who are in the thick of it to
Mm-hmm.
see that challenge from the one side of that list. And then let's say bedtime routine, that's
Mm-hmm.
really big for the parents of young children. And
Sure.
then when we speak about routines and not only creating the routine, but helping parents with what's behind it, and the struggle,
Mm-hmm.
isn't it the most beautiful tool for teaching time management to a young child?
Mm-hmm.
Having stickers on the clock, or to give them, like you say, one of your three words, responsibility over their own
Responsibility.
time learned,
Yeah.
right? It's big.
And there's so many things we teach our children, but we teach it unconsciously. But now be conscious about what you're
Ah,
teaching them, what you want them to take away
yeah,
from this.
I love that.
Um, Not related, but a thing that I always find very important is when we talk about work, right?
Mhm,
We talk
mhm,
about work in the house, work at home,
mhm.
at school, and actually physically going out of the house for work. When we talk about work, we need to make it positive because we are teaching them an idea about what work is.
Yeah.
Those things that we're not really, um, I can't put it properly. Those things that happen, but we don't know we're teaching a lesson. So you
Oh,
come home and you say, "How was work today?" Oh,
yes.
then the children start think, okay, how do I think about my work? And my work is schoolwork, right?
Mm.
It goes, so say, oh, I enjoyed working today. I did this. So making things that you want to be important to your child, important in how you demonstrate them as well.
The role modeling, is that something?
That,
Well, yeah, absolutely.
absolutely.
And it reminds me of one of that Adlerian principle, that we're coming up to summertime in the US as well. So there'll be a lot
Yeah.
of children, secondary schools, the teenage children starts
Mm-hmm.
their leave in a few weeks, and to even have a bit of a structure, over the holidays. So our children
Mm-hmm.
don't just live for the holidays. And like you said, sometimes we're so quick to say, I can't, I'm counting the days to my next holiday.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
It's
is
very
part of
important. It's important, especially when it comes to summertime. Your
Mhm.
children have been used to the structure of school.
Yes,
Now they're home, and there has to be some structure even at home. So if we don't give structure and help them to even build their own structure, it has to reflect itself when they walk out of that door at 18.
yes,
They don't know how to do it. They won't know how to manage it. So when they walk out at 18, they won't know how to. So give them that structure. Give them the structure during the summer breaks so that they can know, okay, I can get up, I can make breakfast. Show them how to make that breakfast you want them to. I can make my bed. Show them how to make the bed. I can take a shower. Let them know that shower is important. All those things that you want your children to do,
yeah,
make it a known fact that they have to happen
yeah,
so
exactly.
that they can do it. So it's also a muscle memory within their bodies to do those things.
And involve them in the background, right? Like here in
For
Ireland,
sure.
the house is run, let's say, by oil heating, so
Yeah.
the parents need to make sure there is enough hot water in the house. It's different in every country, but we can
Yeah.
involve our teenagers and young children to learn these kind of principles. There's a consequence to the water not being turned on, and
Mm-hmm.
having a cold shower.
Talking about it like it's just a fact.
Mhm.
Talk about it enough for them to understand what it is, so that they're asking about it. If you have a oil heater,
Yes,
and just
yeah,
show them, oh, this is the meter, this is how we know,
yeah,
and then send them down to check the meter. Children can do tasks as early as 7 years old.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know why I'm saying this now, but we have a challenge now with the solar heating on our roof that's not working, so that is so much work then. So we can involve them in what we're
Mm-hmm.
using now to really build skills for life, right? In
For
that
sure, for
space
sure.
in between. So
I
there,
mean, think about the cultures that were agricultural cultures, like our parents' generation.
Mhm.
They went out to the field very early, learned through working in the field or watching the parents work in the field. It's the same philosophy.
Yeah,
Teach our children what we want by them watching us do it.
that's it.
Yeah,
And what comes to mind now is the talk less and act more. Children learn so much from observing, don't they?
for sure, for sure, for
Good and
sure.
bad. So
Yeah,
the last question I have, it what well, to come back to that topic of empty nest a small bit,
for
but
sure.
you hear children again of parents of children. I want to say children of parents. That's very funny if the role was reversed, but
They'd have enough to say.
if so when parents sometimes when you hear them, they there's two. This was new to me last week as well. This you bring a child home from the hospital, but also there's
Mhm.
like a plan then for them to exit the home,
For
and
sure.
some parents might say now, while children are still young, I cannot wait for them to grow up and leave, And then what I
Yeah.
also heard from you was that that the opposite is true as well, that parents find that very lonely then, or if you're in a relationship, you really have to redefine that whole dynamic, and it can
Hmm.
bring all kinds of joys with it and all kinds of challenges,
For sure.
and what my whole thing is, what I'm striving towards, even with
Hmm.
this parenting is how can I make it enjoyable now, and um to that comes up in my daily life, to not think if I had that, then I would be happy. If my children were leaving the house, then I can start my life or continue, or so I would love to hear from you your personal experience, what
Hmm.
how you found that with your daughter, that process of the empty nest, and whatever you would feel comfortable sharing, what were some challenges and what are
Hmm.
also the joys about then, starting that next journey
Yeah.
in your life.
So for us, and this is not necessarily the same for every parent, we knew that we wanted her to go to college. So
Mhm.
we were already on the trajectory of getting her ready to go to college, and she also wanted to go away to college. So that was the one thing, because we know education actually would be helpful for her. So we had that ready. So in knowing that, we knew that she's an only child. We
Yeah.
knew that she would have to go and be among strangers. So the year when she was in junior year of high school, we
Mhm.
sent her away for 3 weeks, away from the home, away from contact.
What
And
age
she
is
was
that? I'm not too familiar with exactly the age of junior and seniors. What age would
That's
that be?
so high school is 4 years here.
Uh-huh.
So junior year is a year before your senior year, which is the third year in high school. So
Okay.
we sent her away that summer with people that she did not know and to a place that she did not know, out of the country. We
And
actually sent out the
what's
country.
her, sorry to interrupt you, what's the age of that she was, to get a perspective on?
16, 17.
Okay, okay, I got
Yeah.
you. Mhm.
So she went away and she survived. So we knew she'd be okay to go away to a school far away from us. So then the next year we worked on getting ready for going to college. And at the same time, I had a friend of mine tell me that once she goes away, since you're so used to being with her all the time, you're going to have a really hard time. So
Oh,
what are you and your husband going to do? because there won't be anybody to worry about and stuff like that. So I came home and I told him, this empty nesting thing is not all it's cracked out to be. I've talked to two people and they said that it's a new thing. It's almost like dating again and stuff like that. And we're so old. What are we gonna do? So we took
Not
some
that old.
action. Yeah, we took some action. And then she ended up going to school close by. And the condition was that we wouldn't be always going to see her every weekend. So we said we won't even come. So I think we used to go maybe twice a year to visit, but it
Okay.
wasn't far. It wasn't far from here. And during her breaks, she would always go away. She likes to travel. So we took her to school, dropped her off, came home, and it was quiet, really, really quiet. And we were like, okay. And we said, we will not call you for a whole week so that
Mm.
you're in your own space and we're not like bothering you. You're making your friends and everything. And it worked out well. So the first day we went grocery shopping, I shopped like everybody was going to be home. The things that she likes, I bought them. Me and my husband don't necessarily like the same things as she does. So that was a big adjustment. And then cooking, I cook like we're cooking for all of us.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, that's a new adjustment. And then waking up and not hearing somebody rushing and getting always being late to get to school. That was another adjustment. So it was an adjustment in that terms. We we did miss her dearly because she's very chatty, very lively. And so it was an adjustment. It was an adjustment. But we were happy because it's what we knew was going to happen, right? Because remember when we did the two list, we knew that 18, we had to let her go. We were ready to let her go. So I always consider her a gift that I was to take care of, and she belonged to the world. And true enough, it was not that bad. It was not
Mm.
that bad, but it can be really sad for people who've never known what their child is capable of doing outside the home.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
that's a big thought.
Yeah.
How do you think your child would survive outside that door?
Mm.
So without the skills, it would have been really, really hard for her.
That's
And then we had also given her exposure by allowing her to visit different friends who were already in college.
mhm.
So she had seen that. And
Okay.
then when she was very young, to put the seed and plant the seed of her going to college, we had taken her to several graduations and exposed her to the joy of that as well,
Oh,
right? And then in terms of getting her ready for college, we had done the work that was needed for getting her academically ready and
mhm.
then getting her to know what different campus lives entailed, like the different clubs. There are clubs there,
Yeah.
there's theater, there's all these things, there's basketball, all those things. Those are things that you need to experience while you're in college. And she was pretty good about that. That was
That's
helpful for her. But I would like to say that college is not for all children.
okay.
All
Mhm.
children do not need to go to college.
Yeah.
But what your child is good at, it's important that us as parents understand
Mhm.
and can, you know, allow our child to experience that, to know how much they want whatever it is that they want. So
Mm.
I have friends whose children want to be just a mechanic.
Mhm.
I encourage them to take their child to work in the mechanic store in the summertime.
Yeah.
I encourage them to take community college, vocational college, training opportunities.
Mhm.
We have to give them that opportunity. We do not have to push all our children to go to college, but we have to push our children into being successful when they leave the house. So
Absolutely.
understanding what that is, that's why it's very important when our children are in this adolescent age to understand what they like and expose them to what they like. Not necessarily what we like, but
Yeah.
what they like. What are they good at?
Yeah.
Trying to start from an early age when your child is really young, trying to see what they gravitate towards, what
Mhm.
their interests are. and then trying to expose them to those interests.
Mhm.
And then not even just that, exposing them to different things so that they can understand, oh,
Mm.
that's what swimming team is about. Oh, that's what playing soccer is about. Oh, explore the world with them, or help them explore it so that you can help them make good choices for when they get to that age.
Oh, you're
What do
so
you think?
full of experience. I absolutely love it. And then to find that balance, as a parent, to not overschedule them, because then there are all
Mm-hmm.
other challenges, and to really see what are they good at, and not just for ticking
Yes.
boxes. Now my
Mm-hmm.
child has done this plethora of activities, right?
Yeah.
Because they
And
have
I
these
think
tendencies
people
of,
forget when you overschedule your child, you're actually overscheduling yourself.
oh yeah, yeah, that's it.
And it takes away time from you and your child.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
yes, it does. Another important thing that we did when she was very young, we are allowed her to have time that was with each one of us. So
Oh,
she had swim class from 8 months, I think, 8, 9 months with her dad. And
yeah.
then they had this routine of going for breakfast together.
Oh, lovely.
So, and they continued that all the way through high school.
Did they?
They had,
Oh, what a memory.
yeah. And even now, he'll be
Uh,
like, oh, are you free for breakfast on this day? And they'll go to breakfast, just the two of them. And then the funniest part was she was into this group, One Direction.
Oh,
And I
yes.
know she'll kill me for saying it.
I
She
think
was
some of
into
them
One
are
Direction.
from Ireland, aren't they?
Yeah.
One of them.
So she was into One Direction,
Yeah, yeah.
and he would actually listen to their music so that when they were in the car, he had One Direction music that he would put on for her. He would
Oh,
help her take her to the concert
mhm.
every now and then, and he would like, oh, you know what I heard about One Direction? I'm like, what? So he
Get into her
actually took an
world.
interest in her world. So that's another way to get connecting with your children, because at that age, they really think you don't get it. You don't get them, you don't get it. So even if you have to just listen to that rock music that
Yes,
just drives you nuts, just so that you can have a connection, it's worth the while. So because other than that, you'll start talking about other things. You
yes.
end up talking about other things that are of interest to them. And
Yeah.
then you can put your 2 cents into that.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm learning so
Yeah.
much from you. What a lovely idea, to have that routine and not just to rush to the activity and back, but to combine it with special time. And I always say it
Hmm.
doesn't have to involve money. You're already spending money
No,
for, if you can afford it, good, but you don't have to spend more money. You could go for
no.
a walk after the activity or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ice cream, you could do that.
Yeah,
We go window shopping all the time, not buying anything, just window shopping.
yeah,
Just go out there, understand what is it that your child likes. If your
yeah,
child likes go to the mall, just
yeah,
go with them. Just go with them and see what it is that they're looking for and what their interests are. And
yeah.
then drop your 2 cents every now and then.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. You don't have to, be a big, big part of their everyday life,
No.
because they also have to understand how to build relationships and what relationships are all about. Yeah. But
And that,
going back to,
mhm. I
sorry, going back
just
to,
go on.
going, going back to empty nesting, it's important to understand that empty nesting is when your child leaves the house, right? Like a
Mhm.
bird flies, they have the cheeks and the cheeks get older and they fly out and the nest is empty. That's what empty nesting really is all about. But there are emotions that people go through, the feeling of
Mhm.
loneliness,
Mhm.
emotional distress happens to a lot of people. A lack of purpose, the feeling of lack of purpose because you don't have to do anything for anybody anymore. And then the fear of control, especially if you're over controlling parent, overbearing, you feel that feeling of like, I'm not in control. I don't know what they're doing. Are they taking the right subject? Did they do their homework on time? Da, 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 da. What are they eating? There's a lot of worrying, a lot of anxiety that can build up, and even depression. So when you're going through all those things, if you do need help, I seriously
Mhm.
encourage that people do look and seek for help.
Yeah,
So that's one of the things that I like to emphasize is if you need help, get help.
yeah,
If you go through the grief and you
yeah,
need help, get help. Then
yeah,
if you go through the relief, oh, fine. Then you live with that. And then if you go through the joy of celebrating, celebrate big. It's only for a
Yeah.
short time. They will come back to you. They will come back to you. Excuse me
Yeah.
1 minute. They will come back
Mhm.
because, also remember the age we're going at, right? They go out and then we have our aging parents, they might come in. So now you have to take care of somebody again. So enjoy that moment when you know that you're securely enjoying the moment. Enjoy it and take great pride in knowing that you raised a great human being, if that's what it's about, right?
That's it. That's the end result. What a
Yeah,
beautiful note
enjoy it.
to
Yeah.
finish on. And if uh, let's say somebody maybe wanted to know more, I know you did this as a bit of a project on the site. Do you still work with parents, or are you mainly in the classroom, or can people connect with you that can I leave any of your details below the video, or what
Sure.
happens to you?
So it's interesting that you say that because I'm just starting to do private coaching for parents.
Oh,
And
love
yes, I
that.
am.
Okay.
I'm doing that. So
Yeah.
if anybody is interested, I would be happy to do that.
Yes.
I will send you my information so you can put it down there. And I'd be happy to do that. It's not just about empty nesting, just helping people
Ah,
understand
yeah.
how they're parenting and how they can look at it
Mhm.
differently so that they can come up with their own solutions that would work for their family.
Absolutely. That's what I love
Hmm.
about this overall approach. You're not being told what to do. It's almost like I was thinking during the week, we help parents write their own manual for their child, what fits for them and their values, right?
Yeah, for their child, for their family, understand what their values are, and
Mhm.
then understand what values they can help their children get
Mm,
and how they would go about teaching that. Because that's the most important thing, right? You define the value that you want, you make a
mhm.
plan about it, and then you go about it. And then if it's not working, you reassess and
Yes.
evaluate and decide how to go about it. It's the same thing even for empty nesting when we're talking about it. Understand what empty nesting looks like and is to you, and then make a plan for it, and then live out your plan. So for us, when I came and I said, we talked with John, I talked to my husband about it. He decided, okay, we're going to meet this like halfway. When she goes, we're going to have all these things that we're going to do. And so we went about doing all those things the first year. And then reassessing in the second year, we were okay because we had already made some plans and gone about those plans. So
Mhm.
that was helpful for us.
Brilliant.
So the same thing with parenting, you need to make a plan, you need to understand what you need to know and make a plan for it.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for your time. We're going to leave it here, and I have a feeling we might do this again on another topic, because you have such a wealth
Sure.
of knowledge as well on Montessori and combining that with positive discipline. So thank you so much, and
Thank you so much, Annette. Thank you.
for watching.
Thank you. Thank you for watching.